Here with us now is politics reporter for the Washington Post, Phillip Bump. All right, Phillip. Donald Trump, not really known for reversing any of his remarks, definitely not known for apologizing for anything.
Right.
His voters, his fans really love that about him. He's a strong leader. Do you think this reversal will hurt him in any way?
Well, I think one thing we've seen is that there's not going to be much that will shake his core base of support. He's had this consistent level of support. Nothing we've seen has moved him up or down with that base of supporters. He didn't apologize. I think it's worth noting there, despite this sort of imaginary sense of this thing that happened with this plane. It's remarkable in part simply because he finally acknowledged that he was wrong about it, right? And he's done that once or twice before. But I think it happening in this moment after this terrible week that he's had, I think there's significance.
So perhaps the more important question, and something we shouldn't lose sight of, is the fact that this individual running for president in a matter of 95 days could be in line for the presidency. He saw a video and then essentially winged it on what was contained in the video. Presumably had advisors. I mean, isn't the bigger story that he went forward with information that he had not verified and that was not true?
I mean, I think in a regular year that would be the bigger story, but we know that he does that, right? And I think that you're absolutely right, that this is not something a presidential candidate should be doing, literally making up stories about what he saw. But we know he did this. We saw this with the Muslim people cheering in New Jersey after 9/11, right? We've seen him do this before, say, I saw this thing on TV that there's no evidence he actually saw. And so, yes, absolutely, in a regular election year, well, what just happened? But in this moment, the thing that's amazing is he actually admitted that that's what he did.
We know that he sort of puts out these half-truths or half-baked stories out there to the constituency he's addressing. But do you think these claims will stick? When he talks about President Obama being incompetent, when he talks about Hillary Clinton's record, is it resonating with voters?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, there's so much partisanship at play in this election. One of the things that Donald Trump has inherited to his benefit is the fact that the electorate is so split on partisan lines. The past two presidential cycles have seen the most loyalty to party of any election cycles in the past 40 or 50 years, meaning more Republicans voted for the Republican and more Democrats voted for the Democrat. One of the reasons Trump is not doing as well in the polls right at this moment is because Republicans aren't as enthusiastic about him as Democrats are about Hillary Clinton. So he's benefiting in general from the fact there is all this partisanship, there is this distrust of Hillary Clinton, there is this distrust of Barack Obama, but it's looking as though right now, if the election were held today, that wouldn't be enough to get him across the finish line.
So now, Phillip, on this question of the polls, you think they're a momentary uplift for Hillary Clinton, a post-convention uptick, and not a sign of some more permanent change? I want to get your response to that after we play this most recent sound from Hillary Clinton responding to her Achilles heel issue, the email server. She took questions from a group of black and Hispanic journalists in Washington, D.C. just a moment ago. Here's the sound from that.
I was pointing out in both of those instances that Director Comey had said that my answers in my FBI interview were truthful. That's really the bottom line here. And I have said during the interview and in many other occasions over the past months that what I told the FBI, which he said was truthful, is consistent with what I have said publicly. So I may have short-circuited it, and for that I will try to clarify, because I think Chris Wallace and I were probably talking past each other.
And for that, I may have short-circuited and not exactly an apology. Do you think that response is going to move her any higher in these polls?
Well, I mean, I think that this is the issue that was why Donald Trump was gaining on her shortly before the conventions, because of the whole thing with what Comey said about what she'd done. And Comey didn't say, our fact checkers at the Post gave her 4 Pinocchios, our highest rating of being a falsehood, because he didn't say that she was being honest. He said that he couldn't prove she was lying, which is obviously, if your kid said that to you, you'd understand the distinction that's being drawn there. And he also said that, she drew this distinction about things are marked classified or not. Comey said she still was obligated to protect it, which I think are the lines that resonate here. All of that said, people are used to this issue. I'm not sure that there's anything new there that's going to get people to rethink how they feel about Hillary Clinton.
Yeah. The Washington Post fact checkers also said that her answers in regard to the email server are excessively legalistic and long. They're kind of stem winders, and the response there certainly was. We cut a 30-second bite, but it was a lengthy response.
I mean, honestly, hearing her say that reminded me of the Bill Clinton. It depends on what the definition of is, right? I mean, they have that happen.
It's hard to forget that, and it's a bit of why people just dislike the Clintons when they talk about it. It's just that they get stuck in the legal limbo to get themselves out. I want to talk Wisconsin while we have you here. Trump's going to be there today. Interesting sort of battle there. We've got the House Speaker who's from Wisconsin, Paul Ryan. We've got the governor there who's running also, Scott Walker. We've also got Ron Johnson, who's a senator there. All three of them have said, we're not going to show up at the rally where Donald Trump will be. How is this going to affect voting patterns here?
Well, I think it's important to remember that Wisconsin was the last big never Trump state in the primaries, right? Ted Cruz won it easily. It was this bastion of the Republican establishment that rejected Donald Trump. Wisconsin voters there have not proven that they're big fans of Donald Trump. So for people running for election there, it doesn't do them necessarily a lot of good to stand next to Donald Trump, right? Paul Ryan's in this big fight. He's got his primary coming up next week. There are some rumors that Trump may actually come on board with Paul Ryan before that happens. We'll see. Obviously, Donald Trump put his foot down and said he wasn't going to do that earlier this week. But, Wisconsin is probably out of play for the Republicans, particularly if the polls stay the way they are. And so I'm not sure that the Wisconsin voters and his relationship with the establishment there is going to hurt him any more than he was already going to be hurt.
Philip, I was going to say it's a great point that the Wisconsin probably is out of play for Republicans. So with 95 days before Election Day, why is Donald Trump even wasting his time giving a rally there? I don't know. We're going to have to leave it there for now.
No idea.
It's a mystery. Phillip Bump from the Washington Post, thank you very much.
Sure.